Returning to our top story, and residents of Wagga Wagga are breathing a sigh of relief after floodwaters peaked lower than expected. Our reporter George Roberts joins us from Wagga Wagga in southern New South Wales. Good morning to you, George. Some relief with the floodwaters peaking last night and then receding. What's the situation there this morning?
Yeah, that's right, Karina. The floodwaters have dropped down. They were expected to get to a height of about 10.6. Now, the official SES number is 10.56 metres. And if you look back there, you can see it's still moving really quite quickly through the middle, but it's all floodwaters right up to here. And just moving along here, it's now dropped down to about 10.2 metres. That's on the measuring stick there on the side of this old bridge here. So it has dropped down a bit overnight, but there's still a phenomenal amount of water. And as we were saying last night, the SES says that at the height of the releases from Burrinjuck Dam, 250,000 megalitres or 250,000 Olympic swimming pools effectively were being released every day from Burrinjuck Dam. That, combined with all the tributaries flowing into this river, means that there was a phenomenal amount of water just pushing against these levees, and that was the main concern, is that even if it didn't go over the effective design height of the levee, that it could actually break the banks anyway, that amount of pressure could actually breach some soft spots along the levee. So that's why the evacuation order has been in place here, and there's about 10 blocks back here which are practically deserted. If we just spin around here, you'll just see this street's normally part of effectively central Wagga. There's, you know, apart from the odd police car and our satellite dish, there's really not much here, but 10 blocks is effectively deserted. It's like a ghost town. So that evacuation order is in place until engineers can come in today and give the all clear, assess the levees and make a decision about whether there's any chance of these levees breaking or not.
And do we know when that's likely to happen, when those engineers are likely to come through and the SES gives everyone the all clear?
Well, the SES superintendent here, James McTavish, who's effectively running operations here, he told the community last night that they didn't have a sure time on that and that he wasn't going to make a decision until the hydrologists, the Bureau of Meteorology and also engineers had been able to discuss how the river's moving, how much pressure from the water is being placed on the banks and whether they're likely to break. So we won't expect one sort of first thing this morning. No doubt it'll take them time to go along all the banks and check them. Last night there were patrols coming along these banks just to have a look. They were poking floodlights down the river and looking about to see, just to check and make sure that the situation was safe. But as they said yesterday, if it was to break, even at 10.6 metres, it's obviously dropped down to 10.2, but just to give you an idea, at 10.6 metres, if the levee broke, there's nothing they could do. No amount of sandbagging was really going to help. Everyone just had to get out of the way, and that's why there are 10 blocks back from here that are effectively deserted, and there could have been up to 2 metres of water through some parts of the town here. Now that hasn't happened, and it does look like the bank is holding, but they need to make an official assessment today.
And George, many of the residents were rushed out the night before last. You were at the community hall meeting last night. What are the residents telling you? What's the mood like?
Well, look, there was some frustration after the initial middle of the night evacuation the night before last. I think because the flood peak didn't come in when it was expected, it kept getting pushed out. It was pushed out to 3 o'clock and then to 6 o'clock, and then it didn't reach the height that it was expected to get to. So I think people were a bit inconvenienced and obviously frustrated. You know, they've had to uproot their lives and quickly grab their kids and, their pets and their possessions and grab a few valuables and get out of the house. So for some people that was a disruption, but as the SES said, look, the main priority is safety. And the other thing is that there was still time for a few jokes last night in the meeting. There were people, cracking jokes about, having to spend extended time with some extended family members that they otherwise mightn't have wanted to be staying with. And there were a few jokes about, now having waterfront properties, so could their property prices go up? So it wasn't a completely sombre mood, but they were sort of making time for a bit of a joke there as well.
Maybe a little more sombre in other parts of the state, because Griffith has had some evacuations overnight as well.
That's right. Look, some parts of Griffith, some streets in Griffith have had an evacuation order. There are a number of streets closed there, and there is still an evacuation order in place for Forbes as well. So those two towns as well are still facing some uncertainty for Griffith, and obviously for Forbes, waiting to see when that evacuation order can be lifted. And here as well, just across the river, we might just swing back around so you can see the river there, but just across the river there in North Wagga Wagga on the other side of the river, and the areas around there in Gumley and East Wagga, I mean, they're really facing some uncertainty as well, because many of those parts are underwater, completely underwater, with water right up to the roofs of the houses, and properties all along here. Some of the farms are completely underwater, so there is still quite a bit of damage for those people. And having covered floods in the past, what they're going to face is they'll come home and it's like a big dirty washing machine has gone through their house. Last time in Queensland and in the floods here in New South Wales before, when people were cleaning up, they were finding things from the back room of their house that had been spun around in this washing machine of water that's gone through and dumped in the front room of the house. So they're really going to face a lot of a muddy, sticky, smelly clean-up. And so for those people, that's really going to be tough. Hopefully for the people living on this side of the bank, the 10 blocks back there in the evacuation zone, hopefully for them, these banks will hold and they'll be able to return to a dry home.
George Roberts in Wagga Wagga, thanks for the update.
Thank you.